One of my all-time favorite psychological studies comes from a book titled Learned Optimism from Dr. Martin Seligman. Seligman is like the founder of modern day positive psychology. We'll talk about that later in days, weeks, months to come. Seligman conducted a longitudinal study over the course of about 20 years in the 1980s. The study consisted of 1,500 participants divided into two different groups. Group A chose their job because they believed that they were going to make a lot of money in their career. Group B chose their job because they loved what they did. Group A had 1,253 participants, or about 83% of the population. The other 17%, about 247 participants. Again, they chose their jobs because they believed that they enjoyed and they loved what they did. Longitudinal study, it means that you look at a population or a data set over a long period of time. You know, a baseline or assessment or quick evaluation of a population is first completed, and you check back in, see what's changed with that population again over a period of times, oftentimes several years. You know, 20 years go by in this study. Seligman and his team, they reach out to participants and check this out. Out of 1,500 people, there were a total of 101 millionaires that were created. How many of them came from Group A? Remember, Group A, it was the group who chose their job believing that they were going to make a lot of money. How many millionaires? Would you believe it? There was a total of only 1 millionaire who came from Group A. Yet there were a total of 100 millionaires from Group B. How is that possible? Seligman knew something, and he discovered something that we've known for a long time. He just had a way to quantify it in a way that really just captured people's attention. You see, psychology up until about the 90s and 2000s was really all about figuring out, what's wrong with people. Seligman, he's often known and referred to as the modern day father of positive psych, a branch and channel of psychology that's really foundationally based on finding what's right with people. Seligman, he was passionate about studying what's right. One study, just how this captured just how important your attitude is in determining your success. You see, what's really interesting is out of these 100 millionaires, 70 of them didn't have college degrees. And out of every person in that group who was a CEO, 70% of those CEOs graduated the bottom half of their class. Can you imagine that? Like, based on the outcomes of that study, Seligman concluded that a positive attitude is a crucial trait of successful people. There's a lot of ways to measure success. However, this one study, it defined it as becoming a millionaire. The core, I would argue, that guided those adults to their financial success was founded in a rock-solid foundation of a great attitude. I would even be so bold as to say strong concentration and also hard work. Effort, ACE, that thing. Seligman referenced, a Zig Ziglar quote that's been used by many speakers around the world and coaches over the years. And I want you to think on this. You may have heard it before, but I'm going to share it because somebody a lot smarter than me said it. It's your attitude, more than your aptitude, that will help determine your altitude. In other words, what really matters is the way that you look at and interact with the world, not how smart or how gifted you are. So it's a good thing that this key significant factor, this major influence throughout our lives, is something that is truly under your control. A coach I immensely respected growing up always said, an athlete with a piss poor attitude can expect to get piss poor results. Take a look at some of the athletes that you look up to, even in the high school or collegiate ranks. Does their attitude reflect your personal beliefs? Because if it's not, you should probably find another role model whose attitude does. But they're successful, you may be thinking. Well, they must be doing something right. Listen, the ACE teaching method is not just about following success at all costs. I don't believe that's the best way to train athletes. Results are fleeting, they're superficial. They don't always tell you the full story and what's really going on inside that athlete over the long term. Listen, you can be an absolutely toxic person, enjoy temporary success as an athlete, but sooner or later, those problems will catch up with you and anybody who emulates that behavior. Plus, if all you look at is outcomes, you end up on the results roller coaster, my friend. And that's the term for Somebody whose mood is determined by their last game, last training session, just truly tracking the results. And when you're doing really well, you may be on top of the world. When you're not doing well, you're awful and not a fun person to be around. Nobody wants to truly work with that athlete. That emotional volatility leads and tends to spill over into a career that's up and down, unpredictable, hit or miss. Whereas athletes with solid attitudes and strong self-control tend to perform more consistent. Most important question, where's your attitude? You can redefine it yourself every single day. That's what this week's been about. Time to level it up, my friend. And again, reiterate from earlier this week, how has your attitude been challenged and shifted? And in what ways do you think that's going to pay off for you? Can't wait to read some of your comments and read some of your responses and really track the progress that you guys are making. We'll see you tomorrow.